2 days into their journey toward Villani space, the Harbinger received an emergency transmission. Dr. Wade's translation equipment decoded the desperate message from the planet they had just left. Additional Villani research vessel detected near the supervolcano region. The automated distress beacon reported. 3 survivors, life support critical, immediate extraction required. Rodriguez stared at the message in disbelief. How did we miss them? Carlos Vega checked the sensor logs. The volcanic activity was too intense in that region during our search. Their signal was probably blocked by electromagnetic interference from the eruption. Lisa Shaw was already calculating a return course. The supervolcano that region is building toward a major eruption. Geological sensors indicate it could blow any time. First researcher Kith Vell approached the bridge, moving carefully in the ship's gravity. Captain, that region is impossible to reach. The heat, the toxic gases, the unstable ground. Even our most advanced rescue ships would not attempt such a mission. How long do the survivors have? Rodriguez asked. Dr. Wade consulted the message data. Based on their life support readings, maybe 6 hours, maybe less. Rodriguez made his decision without hesitation. We go back. The bridge fell silent. Even his experienced crew looked uncertain about returning to what was essentially an active supervolcano to rescue 3 aliens. Sir, Sergeant Clark said carefully, the conditions down there will be at the absolute limit of our equipment tolerances, maybe beyond them. Are you saying it can't be done? Clark considered the question. I'm saying it's the most dangerous rescue mission I've ever heard of. But if anyone can do it, we can. Amy Foster nodded agreement. Our environmental suits are rated for extreme conditions. We've trained for situations like this. Carlos Vega was less optimistic. Captain, I'm reading surface temperatures near the crash site of over 100 degrees Celsius. Toxic gas concentrations that would overwhelm our filters in extended exposure, and the ground instability makes landing impossible. Then we don't land, Rodriguez said. We do a combat drop directly to the site, extract the survivors, and get out before the volcano blows. Dr. Wade turned to Kith Vell. Are you certain your people are still alive? The alien skin patterns showed deep concern. The signal is weak but consistent with life support systems under extreme stress. They are alive, but not for long. Rodriguez looked at his crew. These were the same people who had already rescued 43 aliens from impossible conditions. They had walked through acid rain, faced down apex predators, and worked in toxic volcanic environments. But this mission would push them beyond anything they had attempted before. This is volunteer only, he announced. Anyone who wants to stay on the ship, no judgment. Nobody moved. Amy Foster actually smiled. Sir, with respect, did you really think any of us would back down now? The Harbinger turned back toward Kepler 442c, racing against time and geological forces that could destroy entire continents. As they approached the planet, the scale of the volcanic activity became clear. The supervolcano was building toward an eruption that would dwarf anything in recorded human history. My God, Lisa Shaw whispered, studying the sensor readings. When that thing blows, it's going to affect the entire planet's climate. How long do we have? Rodriguez asked. Geological sensors indicate major eruption within 12 hours. Could be sooner. The crash site was located on the slopes of the supervolcano itself, in a region where the ground temperature exceeded human survival limits and toxic gases created an atmosphere that would kill in minutes. The Villani survivors were trapped in their ship less than a kilometer from the main volcanic vent. Drop pods won't work, Carlos reported. The thermal currents and gas density will throw them off course. We'll have to use the emergency shuttles and land as close as possible. How close can we get? Maybe 2 kilometers from the crash site. After that, it's on foot through the worst terrain on the planet. Rodriguez assembled his team. Himself, Amy Foster, Carlos Vega, Dr. Wade, and 4 Marines led by Sergeant Clark. They would carry emergency life support for the Volani survivors and hope their own equipment could handle conditions that no human had ever experienced. As they descended through the toxic atmosphere, the shuttle's hull temperature rose to dangerous levels. Outside, the landscape looked like a vision of hell. Lava flows carved glowing rivers through the black rock. Geysers of superheated gas erupted without warning. The ground itself seemed to pulse with the heartbeat of the awakening volcano. Landing. Zone ahead, Lisa Shaw reported from the pilot's seat. This is as close as I can get without melting the shuttle. The team disembarked into conditions that pushed their equipment to its limits. The external temperature was 95 degrees Celsius. Toxic gases created a fog so thick they could barely see 10 meters ahead. The ground was hot enough to glow in some places. "Stay together," Rodriguez ordered. "Watch for gas vents and unstable ground. We have maybe an hour before this whole area becomes uninhabitable." They moved through the hellscape like explorers on an alien world, which in many ways they were. But to their amazement, they were adapting to conditions that would have killed most galactic species instantly. "Oxygen levels in the suits are holding steady," Amy reported. "Filtration systems are working, but they're at maximum capacity." "Ground temperature is approaching the limits of our boot insulation," Carlos added, "but we're still mobile." The crash site appeared through the toxic fog like a mirage. The Volani ship was partially melted, its crystal hull cracked and blackened by the extreme heat. It was amazing that anyone inside was still alive. "Hello?" Rodriguez called out, activating his external speakers. "This is Captain Rodriguez. We're here to get you out." A weak signal responded through Dr. Wade's translation equipment. "Impossible. No life can exist in this place of ultimate death. Are you spirits of the fire realm?" "We're humans," Rodriguez replied. "Just like the ones who rescued your research fleet. Can you move?" "We are dying from the heat and poison air. Our ship protects us poorly from this realm of fire and death." Amy began cutting through the ship's hull while the rest of the team established a perimeter. The volcanic activity was increasing by the minute. Geysers of superheated gas erupted randomly around them. "Major seismic event incoming," Carlos warned, checking his instruments. "The whole mountainside is becoming unstable." "How long?" Rodriguez asked. "Minutes, not hours." Amy broke through the hull to reveal 3 Volani in worse condition than any they had seen before. The extreme heat had pushed their physiology beyond its limits. They were barely conscious and unable to move. "They're in severe thermal shock," Amy diagnosed. "I need to get them into cooling units immediately." Sergeant Clark and his Marines began carrying the unconscious aliens while Amy administered emergency medical treatment. The team moved as quickly as possible through terrain that was becoming more dangerous by the second. Behind them, the supervolcano's main vent began to glow with increasing intensity. The ground trembled constantly now, and the air itself seemed to vibrate with the building pressure. "Major eruption imminent," Carlos reported. "We need to be airborne in the next 10 minutes or we're not leaving at all." They reached the shuttle, just as the first massive explosion shook the mountain. Lisa Shaw had the engines running and ready for immediate takeoff. "Everyone aboard!" Rodriguez shouted over the growing roar of the erupting volcano. As the shuttle lifted off, the supervolcano erupted with a force that lit up the planet's entire atmosphere. The explosion was visible from space, sending columns of ash and debris hundreds of kilometers into the sky. "That was close," Lisa Shaw said with obvious relief as they cleared the blast zone. Dr. Wade was monitoring the rescued Volani. "They're alive, but barely. Another hour in those conditions would have killed them." Rodriguez looked back at the erupting volcano through the shuttle's rear viewport. The explosion was reshaping the planet's geography in real time. No known species except humanity would have attempted a rescue under those conditions. On the Harbinger, first researcher Kith Vell was waiting with the other survivors. When the rescue team brought the 3 new survivors aboard, the alien researchers' skin displayed patterns that Dr. Wade had never seen before. "What is he saying?" Rodriguez asked. Dr. Wade worked with her translation equipment for several minutes. I think he's praying, or maybe composing an epic poem. He's calling you and your crew, the children of fire and stone who walk unafraid, through the realm of ultimate death. That's a bit dramatic. Captain, I don't think you understand what just happened. You went into conditions that would kill every known species in the galaxy. You rescued people from the heart of an erupting supervolcano. By galactic standards, what you just did is impossible. Kith Vel approached Rodriguez directly. Captain, I must transmit a message to the Collective Council immediately. They must know what has occurred here. What will you tell them? That we have encountered a species that makes the impossible routine. That there exists a people who can go where no life should be able to survive. That the galaxy has gained something it has never had before, which is hope. There are phenomena in the galaxy that we have never been able to study because they exist in conditions too hostile for any known life. There are worlds we have never explored because they would. Over the next 18 hours, the Harbinger made 4 more trips to the planet's surface. Each rescue site presented new challenges that tested the limits of human endurance and skill. The second crash site was in the middle of an acid rainstorm. The rescue team had to work in conditions that dissolved exposed metal and burned through anything unprotected. For the Vallani trapped inside their failing ship, the rain was certain death. For the humans in their environmental suits, it was just another occupational hazard. Fascinating, Dr. Wade said, as she helped evacuate 8 more Vallani survivors. Their ship's hull is completely dissolved on the exposed side. They would have died within hours. Amy Foster was treating 2 Vallani who had been injured when acid rain leaked into their ship. Chemical burns, but not severe. Their skin is much more sensitive than human skin. Rodriguez watched his team work efficiently in conditions that terrified the aliens. The humans moved through the acid rain like it was a mild inconvenience. Their equipment was designed for environments that would kill most life forms. At the third crash site, they encountered a pack of the bear-like creatures that the Vallani had described as giant death beasts. The animals were indeed large, about twice the size of earth bears, with thick armor-like hide and powerful claws. They're magnificent, Dr. Wade said, studying them through binoculars. Perfectly adapted apex predators. Sergeant Clark's Marines established a perimeter around the crash site while the rescue proceeded. The bears watched from a distance, clearly intelligent enough to recognize a superior force when they saw one. They're not attacking, one of the Marines observed. Just watching. They're being smart, Clark replied. We're obviously not prey, and we're not threatening their territory. No reason for conflict. The 9 Vallani at this site were in worse condition than the others. They had been trapped for days while the bears circled their ship. To them, the creatures were unstoppable monsters. To the human rescue team, they were just local wildlife that needed to be respected but not feared. Your people show no fear of the death beasts, one of the Vallani said to Dr. Wade as they were evacuated. Are you gods from the stars? No, Dr. Wade replied. We're just from a world where things like this are normal. The 4th rescue site required the most dangerous operation yet. The Vallani ship had crashed near an active volcanic vent that was spewing toxic gases. The area was a hellscape of superheated air, poisonous fumes, and unstable ground. Air temperature is 80 degrees Celsius, Carlos Vega reported as they approached in environmental suits. Hydrogen sulfide levels would be lethal to unprotected humans in minutes. And we're the tough ones, Rodriguez muttered. They found 6. Vallani barely alive in their ship. The toxic environment had been slowly poisoning them for weeks. Their ship's life support had been designed for clean, stable environments, not volcanic hellscapes. How are they still alive? Amy Foster wondered, as she examined the survivors. Barely, came the answer. The Vallani were unconscious and barely breathing. Their delicate physiology was shutting down from exposure to the toxic environment. The evacuation required carrying each alien through terrain that would have killed them in minutes without protection. The humans worked methodically, treating the deadly environment as just another technical problem to solve. During the rescue operations, Dr. Wade spent considerable time talking with the conscious Villani survivors. Through her improving translation protocols, she learned about their civilization and their place in the galaxy. "We are part of what you might call the peaceful collective," first researcher Kith Vell explained during one of their conversations. "A federation of species that have evolved on stable, gentle worlds." "How many species?" Dr. Wade asked. 47 known intelligent species. We have been exploring the galaxy for many thousands of your years, cataloging worlds and seeking new knowledge. Have you encountered many worlds like this one?" Kith Vell's skin patterns showed what Dr. Wade had learned to recognize as distress. Worlds like this are marked in our databases as impossible for complex life. We call them death worlds. They are considered unsuitable for exploration by any known species. Dr. Wade felt a chill that had nothing to do with the volcanic environment. "What about worlds like Earth? Worlds with active geology, weather systems, and dangerous predators?" "Such worlds are legendary," Kith Vell replied. "There are stories of planets so hostile that they could forge impossible creatures. But we believe them to be myths. No species could evolve intelligence on such worlds." "Earth has all of those things," Dr. Wade said quietly. "Volcanoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, ice ages, predators, diseases, asteroid impacts. Our entire history is written in survival." The translation device conveyed Kith Vell's shock through rapidly flashing light patterns. "Your entire species evolved on a death world? How many of your people survived to achieve space travel?" "All of us," Dr. Wade replied. "We didn't just survive it, we thrived on it. We call it home." The implications hit both of them at the same time. By galactic standards, humanity wasn't just another intelligent species. They were the product of evolutionary pressures that most civilizations couldn't even imagine surviving. "Your people," Kith Vell said slowly, "are not like anything in the collective. You are something new, something impossible." Dr. Wade shared this conversation with Rodriguez during their return to the Harbinger. The captain listened thoughtfully as he processed the information. "So we're the Deathworld species," he said finally. "The ones that evolved in hell and learned to call it home." "It explains so much," Dr. Wade replied. "Why this planet seems manageable to us. Why we can handle conditions that terrify them. Why our equipment is so much more robust than theirs." Rodriguez looked at the rescued Villani in the ship's medical bay. They were recovering slowly, amazed to be alive and safe. To them, the humans who had saved them were beings of incredible power and courage. "What happens now?" he asked. "When we take them home, what do we tell their collective?" "The truth," Dr. Wade said, "that humanity exists, that we're from a world they consider impossible, that we can go places and do things that no other known species can do." During the final rescue operation, Rodriguez had time to think about what they had discovered. The Harbinger descended through another volcanic ash cloud toward the last crash site. Below them, the planet raged with earthquakes, eruptions, and storms that would destroy most civilizations. For the humans, it was just another day at work. The last group of Villani survivors was the largest, 16 individuals trapped in the ruins of their research ship. They had been there the longest and were in the worst condition. But they were alive, protected by technology designed for peaceful exploration, not survival on death worlds. "Your arrival is a miracle beyond comprehension," their leader told Rodriguez through Dr. Wade's translation system. "We sent our distress call hoping that perhaps one of the collective's emergency ships might attempt a rescue. We never dreamed that beings like you existed." "What kind of beings are we?" Rodriguez asked, genuinely curious. "Beings who walk unafraid through the realm of death itself." beings who treat the impossible as routine, beings who come from the very type of world that destroys all life. As the Harbinger departed Kepler 442c with all 43 Villani survivors, safely aboard, Rodriguez stood on the bridge looking back at the planet. It continued its violent dance of volcanic eruptions and seismic activity, beautiful and terrible in equal measure. "It really does look like Earth during an active period," Lisa Shaw observed from the pilot's station. "Maybe that's the point," Rodriguez replied. "Maybe we're not just another species in the galaxy. Maybe we're something special." First researcher Kith Vell approached the bridge, moving carefully in the ship's Earth-normal gravity. "Captain Rodriguez, I must ask you something important." "What is it?" "When we return to collective space, you will be the first representatives of your species to make contact with galactic civilization. Are you prepared for what that will mean?" Rodriguez considered the question. "What will it mean?" "It means that 47 peaceful species will learn that somewhere in the galaxy there exists a species that considers Deathworlds to be home. A species that can go where no one else can go, survive what no one else can survive. And that's important?" Kith Vell's skin flickered with patterns that Dr. Wade translated as deep significance. "Captain, in all our thousands of years of exploration, we have encountered worlds that we could not explore, phenomena we could not study, places we could not go because they were too dangerous for any known life form." Rodriguez began to understand. "But not too dangerous for us." "Exactly. Your people represent something the galaxy has never had before. You are the species that other species will call when the impossible needs to be done." As the Harbinger set course for Villani space, Rodriguez realized that this rescue mission had revealed humanity's true role in the galaxy. They weren't just another intelligent species seeking their place among the stars. They were the specialists, the ones who could go where others feared to tread. The galaxy was about to meet the Death World species, and nothing would ever be the same. Rodriguez stepped through the opening Amy had cut in the alien ship. The interior was unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls seemed to glow with soft light, and everything was curved and smooth. There were no sharp edges anywhere. The Villani, inside, were even more impressive in person. They stood nearly 2 meters tall, but were incredibly thin. Their skin was almost see-through, showing delicate structures underneath. Their large eyes reflected the light like mirrors, and they moved. With careful, graceful motions, first researcher Kith Vell approached Rodriguez slowly. The alien's skin pulsed with gentle blue and green patterns as it spoke. Dr. Wade's translation device converted the lights and sounds into words. "You are smaller than we expected," the translation said, "but you move with great confidence on this death world. Are all of your kind so brave?" "We're just doing our job," Rodriguez replied. "Can you tell me about your injuries and status?" "3 of our people were hurt when the skyfire struck our vessel," Kith Vell explained. "They have what you might call broken bones. The others are weak from fear and the terrible weight of this world." Rodriguez looked around at the other Villani. They did seem fragile, like they were built for a much gentler environment. When they moved, it was with obvious effort against the planet's stronger gravity. "Amy, can you examine their injured?" Rodriguez asked. Amy Foster approached one of the injured Villani carefully. The alien seemed afraid of her at first, but Kith Vell spoke to it in their light language. The injured Villani relaxed slightly and allowed Amy to examine its arm. "This is interesting," Amy said. "The bone structure is very light like a bird's, but the break is clean. I can set it with a standard splint." While Amy worked on the injured aliens, Rodriguez stepped outside to check on the perimeter. Sergeant Clark met him at the ship's entrance. "We've got company, Captain," Clark said, pointing toward the rocks. "The pack has grown. I count at least 20 of them now." Rodriguez could see the wolf-like creatures moving between the steam vents and volcanic rocks. They were definitely larger than Earth wolves, with thick fur and powerful builds. But they were keeping their distance from the humans. "They're being cautious," Rodriguez observed. Professional respect from one predator to another. The aliens seem terrified of them, Clark replied. I don't understand why. We've dealt with worse on training missions. As if summoned by their conversation, one of the predators broke from the pack and approached the ship. It moved with confidence, clearly the pack's leader. It stopped about 50 meters away and studied the humans with intelligent eyes. Rodriguez and Clark stood their ground. The creature was impressive, but not threatening to someone in an environmental suit carrying military-grade weapons. After a few moments, the predator turned and rejoined its pack. It was testing us, Clark said, seeing if we were a threat or prey. And what did it decide? That we're not prey. Dr. Wade emerged from the ship. Captain, I've been talking with the Villani about their experiences here. The things they describe as unstoppable monsters sound like normal wildlife to me. They're afraid of creatures that would be dangerous to unprotected humans but manageable. With proper equipment. What about their world? Rodriguez asked. Where do they come from? A place called Vela Prime. Low gravity, stable weather, no geological activity. Their evolution favored intelligence over physical strength. They've never had to deal with predators or natural disasters. Rodriguez was beginning to understand. The Villani had evolved on what humans would call a paradise world. No wonder this volcanic, seismically active planet seemed like hell to them. Carlos Vega's voice came over the radio. Captain, we have a problem. Seismic sensors are picking up major activity to the south. I think we're about to have a volcanic event. Rodriguez looked toward the southern horizon. The sky was darker there, and he could see flashes of red light. How long do we have? Maybe an hour before the pyroclastic flow reaches this area. We need to move now. Rodriguez made his decision quickly. Amy, how are the injured? Stabilized, she replied. I can move them, but they'll need support. Do it. Everyone out of the ship. We're evacuating to the extraction point. The evacuation began immediately. The Villani moved slowly in the heavy gravity, clearly struggling with every step. The injured ones were even worse. Amy found herself supporting aliens who weighed barely 60 pounds each. Their bodies adapted for a world with half Earth's gravity. They're so light, she said to Rodriguez, like they're made of hollow bones. The pack of predators watched the evacuation with interest, but made no move to attack. They seemed more curious about the humans than hostile. Kithvel approached Rodriguez as they prepared to leave. The ground fire demons do not attack you, the alien observed. Why do they show such fear of your kind? Rodriguez looked at the predators. Maybe because we're from a world like this one. We evolved alongside creatures like them. Your world is like this death realm. In some ways, yes. Earth has volcanoes, earthquakes, dangerous weather, and predators. We learned to survive it all. The translation device conveyed Kithvel's amazement through rapidly changing light patterns. Your entire species evolved on a death world? How is that possible? We call it home, Rodriguez said simply. The journey to the extraction point was challenging but not impossible. The Villani struggled with the terrain, but the humans helped them navigate the rocky ground. When one of the injured aliens collapsed from exhaustion, Sergeant Clark simply picked it up and carried it. So light, Clark muttered, like carrying a child. Behind them, the volcanic activity was intensifying. The sky grew darker as ash began to fall. The ground trembled with increasing frequency. Pyroclastic flow is building, Carlos reported. We have maybe 30 minutes. The pack of predators was following them, but at a respectful distance. They seemed to understand that the volcanic activity was dangerous, and were using the humans as guides to safer ground. Even the monsters flee from the earth blood, Kithvel observed. But you do not seem afraid. We're concerned, Rodriguez admitted. But we've dealt with volcanic activity before. It's dangerous but manageable if you know what you're doing. They reached the extraction point just as the first waves of hot gas and debris began flowing down the mountainside. Lisa Shaw brought the Harbinger down through the ash cloud in a landing that would have been impossible for most pilots. "Everyone aboard!" Rodriguez shouted over the roar of the approaching pyroclastic flow. The Volani hurried up the boarding ramp, supported by human crew members. They moved with obvious terror, looking back at the wall of superheated gas racing toward them. The humans moved with practiced efficiency, loading equipment and ensuring everyone was secure. They treated the life-threatening volcanic eruption as just another day at the office. As the Harbinger lifted off, Rodriguez saw the pack of predators escaping to higher ground. They moved with the same urgency as any intelligent creature fleeing. Natural disaster. "The ground fire demons survive," Kith Vell observed from the ship's viewing port. "They are truly creatures of impossible strength." "They're just smart enough to run from danger," Rodriguez replied. "Like any sensible animal." Dr. Wade was studying the sensor readings from the eruption. "Captain, I'm picking up more emergency signals from other parts of the planet. It looks like there were other Volani ships in their research fleet." Rodriguez looked at the tactical display. Multiple distress beacons were scattered across the planet's most volcanically active regions. The rescue mission had just become much more complex. "How many?" he asked. "At least 4 more crash sites. Maybe 5. Rodriguez made his decision without hesitation. "We go after them. All of them." Kith Vell's skin flickered with patterns that Dr. Wade translated as amazement. "You would return to the death world for more of our people, even after what you have seen?" "That's what we do," Rodriguez said. "No one gets left behind." As the Harbinger turned back toward the planet's surface, Rodriguez realized that this rescue mission was revealing something important about humanity. What the Volani called impossible, humans called Tuesday. What they considered a death world, humans considered challenging, but livable. The rescue was far from over, but Rodriguez was beginning to understand that this mission would change more than just the lives of the stranded aliens. It would change how humanity saw itself in the galaxy. 4 months later, the Harbinger dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Captain Rodriguez stood on the bridge, watching the main screen as their destination came into view. Kepler 442c looked like a world, at war with itself. "My God!" whispered Commander Lisa Shaw, the ship's pilot. "Look at those storm systems." The planet was covered in massive hurricanes that dwarfed anything on Earth. Lightning flashed constantly through the thick atmosphere. Even from space, they could see volcanic eruptions dotting the surface like angry red eyes. Carlos Vega checked his instruments. Gravity is 1.3 times Earth normal. Atmospheric pressure at sea level is about 1.8 Earth standard. Temperature ranges from 15 to 45 degrees Celsius, depending on location. "That doesn't sound too bad," said Amy Foster. "The seismic activity is intense," Vega continued. "I'm reading constant earthquake activity across multiple fault lines, and those volcanic systems are very active." Rodriguez studied the data. To him, it looked challenging but manageable. His crew had trained on worlds with similar conditions. "Can we locate the Volani crash site?" Dr. Wade worked at her station, scanning for any artificial signals. "There," she said, highlighting a spot on the planet's surface. "I'm picking up a weak emergency beacon from the northern continent. It's near what looks like a volcanic field." "Of course it is," Rodriguez muttered. "Can we land nearby?" Lisa Shaw shook her head. "The storms in that region are too severe for a safe landing. Wind speeds are over 200 kilometers per hour. The electrical activity would fry our systems." Rodriguez considered their options. "We'll have to do a high-altitude drop. Carlos, can our drop pods handle those conditions?" "They're designed for it," Vega replied. "The pods can handle the pressure and the corrosive atmosphere. The real challenge will be the winds and the electrical storms." "Then we go in fast and hard," Rodriguez decided. "I want a small team. Amy, Carlos, Helen, and 6 Marines will drop as close to the crash site as possible and extract the survivors. Sergeant Danny Clark, who had been listening quietly, stepped forward. Sir, we should prepare for hostile wildlife. The Villani mentioned creatures that hunt them. Right. Full combat gear, but remember we're on a rescue mission. Our priority is getting those aliens to safety. The team prepared quickly. Their equipment was designed for Earth's most extreme environments, which meant it could handle almost anything. Environmental suits protected against corrosive atmospheres. Gravity compensators helped with the increased weight. Emergency shelters could withstand hurricane-force winds. Dr. Wade packed her translation equipment and everything she knew about alien first aid. Amy Foster loaded her medical bay with supplies for unknown physiology. The Marines checked their weapons and prepared for whatever creatures might be waiting on the surface. Drop zone is locked in, Lisa Shaw reported. I'll put you down as close to the beacon as possible, but the storms are unpredictable. You might have to hike a few kilometers. We've done worse, Rodriguez said. He turned to his team. Remember, these beings have been surviving on this planet for 4 months. They're probably scared, injured, and desperate. Let's bring them home. The drop pods launched during a brief lull in the storm activity. Rodriguez felt the familiar sensation of falling through atmosphere, followed by the violent shaking as the pod's heat shields absorbed the friction. Outside, lightning lit up the sky like a constant fireworks display. The landing was rough. Rodriguez's pod slammed into rocky ground and slid several meters before coming to a stop. Around him, the other pods were landing in similar fashion. The sound of constant thunder filled the air. "Sound off!" Rodriguez called over the radio as he climbed out of his pod. One by one, his team reported in. Everyone had landed safely within a kilometer of each other. The crash site was about 3 kilometers to the east, according to their navigation systems. Rodriguez got his first real look at the planet's surface. The ground was black volcanic rock, still warm from recent lava flows. Steam rose from cracks in the earth. The air was thick and humid, with a sulfurous smell that reminded him of Yellowstone Park. Air quality is breathable but not pleasant, Amy Foster reported, checking her instruments. High sulfur content, elevated CO2, but within human tolerance. Temperature is 35 degrees Celsius, added Carlos Vega. Humidity near 90%. It's like a sauna. Sergeant Clark and his Marines established a perimeter while the team gathered their equipment. The landscape was harsh, but not impossible. Rodriguez had seen similar terrain in volcanic regions on Earth. Movement to the north, one of the Marines reported. Something large. Through the steam and volcanic haze, Rodriguez could see shapes moving between the rocks. They were big, about the size of large dogs, and they moved in a coordinated group. Pack. "Hunters," Sergeant Clark observed. "Probably the creatures the Villani mentioned." Dr. Wade raised her binoculars. "They look like wolves, but larger. Maybe twice the size of Earth wolves." "Dangerous?" Rodriguez asked. "To unprotected humans, maybe. To people in environmental suits with military weapons? Not really." The pack seemed to notice the humans, but kept its distance. They circled at the edge of visibility, clearly intelligent and cautious. The team moved toward the crash site, following the emergency beacon. The terrain was rough, with sharp volcanic rock and unstable ground. Steam vents erupted without warning, forcing them to navigate carefully. "There," Dr. Wade pointed ahead. "I can see the ship." The Villani vessel was unlike anything they had seen before. It was sleek and curved, made of some kind of crystal-like material. One side was badly damaged, probably from the crash landing. Part of the ship was buried under a rock slide from a recent earthquake. "Hello," Rodriguez called out as they approached. "This is Captain Rodriguez of Earth. We received your distress call." A section of the ship's hull became transparent, revealing the interior. Inside, Rodriguez could see tall, thin figures with pale, almost translucent skin. Their eyes were large and adapted for low light. They moved with quick, nervous gestures. One of them approached the transparent wall. It was clearly trying to communicate, making complex hand gestures and creating patterns of light on its skin. Dr. Wade activated her translation equipment. "Give me a moment. I'm picking up some kind of harmonic communication system." The alien's skin flickered with different colors and patterns. After a few minutes, Dr. Wade's equipment began producing sounds and displaying text. "Greetings, Star Travelers," the translation read. "I am First Researcher Kith Vell. We are grateful beyond measure for your arrival. We feared we would die on this terrible world." "We're here to help," Rodriguez replied, speaking into Dr. Wade's translation device. "How many survivors do you have?" 12 of us remain," came the translated response. "But the world grows more angry each day. The ground fire demons have been testing our defenses. The earth blood flows closer to our shelter. We cannot survive much longer." Rodriguez looked around at the volcanic landscape. Ground fire demons probably meant the local wildlife. Earth blood was likely the lava flows from nearby volcanic vents. "We'll get you out of here," he promised. "Can you move? Are any of you injured?" "We are weak from fear and poor air. The gravity crushes us. The heat burns our skin. But we can move if we must." Amy Foster was already examining the ship's hull, looking for a way inside. "Captain, I think I can cut through here. The material looks tough but not impossible." "Do it," Rodriguez ordered. "Carlos, start preparing the emergency shelters. We'll need them if another storm hits." As Amy began cutting through the ship's hull, the pack of wolf-like creatures moved closer. They seemed curious about the humans, but wary of their equipment and weapons. "They're smart," Sergeant Clark observed. "They're testing us, looking for weaknesses." "Just like wolves back home," one of the Marines added. Dr. Wade was busy refining her translation system as she talked with the alien researcher. "Captain, they're describing the local wildlife as unstoppable killing machines, but from what I can see, they're just normal predators. Large, but not unusually dangerous." "Maybe danger is relative," Rodriguez suggested. "What's manageable for us might be impossible for them." The thought was troubling. If these aliens considered ordinary wolves to be unstoppable monsters, what did that say about the differences between their species and humanity? Amy finished cutting through the hull. "We're in, Captain." Rodriguez prepared to meet the first aliens in human history, not knowing that this encounter would reveal something profound about humanity's place in the galaxy. On what the Villani called the most hostile world imaginable, humans were about to discover they felt right at home. Dr. Lisa Grant rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the screen again. The numbers did not change. For 3 days, the same strange signal had been coming from deep space. It was not random noise or interference from a star. This was something else. Something made by intelligent beings. "Jake, come look at this," she called to the communications officer across the room. Jake Morrison rolled his chair over to Lisa's workstation. The Europa monitoring station was quiet at this hour. Most of the crew was sleeping, but Lisa could never sleep when she found something interesting. And this signal was very interesting. "What do you think?" Lisa asked, pointing at the patterns on her screen. Jake studied the data for a moment. He had seen many signals during his 5 years at the station. Most were from human ships or natural space phenomena, but this one was different. The mathematical sequence was too perfect, too organized to be natural. "It's definitely artificial," Jake said. "But it's not from any human ship. The frequency is wrong, and the pattern is unlike anything in our databases." Lisa nodded. She had reached the same conclusion hours ago. "I think it's a distress call." "From who?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out." For the next 6 hours, Lisa and Jake worked together to decode the signal. They used every translation program and mathematical model available to the station. Slowly, patterns began to emerge. The signal repeated every 47 minutes, suggesting urgency. Within the signal were coordinates, pointing to a star system 127 light-years away. "There," Lisa said, highlighting a section of the decoded message. "That's definitely a plea for help." The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear. Beings calling themselves the Volani had crashed on what they described as an impossible world. Their ship was damaged. Their life support was failing. They needed rescue soon, or they would die. Jake read the message again. They described the planet as the most hostile world imaginable. What do you think that means? Lisa shook her head. I don't know, but they sound terrified. She pulled up the stellar database and searched for the coordinates. The star system was cataloged as Kepler 442, with one planet in the habitable zone. Human surveys had marked it as potentially suitable for life, but no mission had ever visited due to the distance. Look at this, Lisa said, sharing the planet's data with Jake. Kepler 442c. It's about 30% larger than Earth. The atmosphere has oxygen and water vapor. Gravity is a bit stronger than Earth's, but not by much. Doesn't sound that hostile to me, Jake replied. Maybe not to us, but we don't know what these Volani are like. They might come from a very different kind of world. Lisa saved all the data and prepared a report for Earth Command. This was the first confirmed signal from an alien intelligence in human history. The implications were enormous. But right now, the most important thing was that someone needed help. The report reached Captain Ben Rodriguez 18 hours later. He was eating breakfast aboard the UES Harbinger when the priority message arrived. Rodriguez had commanded deep space rescue missions for 12 years. He had saved miners from asteroid accidents, recovered crews from failed colonies, and pulled research teams out of dangerous situations. But he had never received a rescue request from aliens. Rodriguez called his senior staff to the briefing room. Amy Foster, the ship's combat medic, arrived first. She was followed by Carlos Vega, the chief engineer, and Dr. Helen Wade, the xenobiologist who had joined the crew just 6 months earlier. We have a situation, Rodriguez began, activating the main display. 3 days ago, our monitoring station at Europa received this signal. He played the decoded message. The computer's flat voice read the translation. This is First Researcher, Kith Vel of the Volani research vessel. We have crashed on world designation unknown. The planet is beyond hostile. Creatures of impossible strength hunt us. The ground bleeds fire. The air burns. Our shelter fails. We need rescue immediately. We are 12 survivors. Our coordinates follow. The room was silent for a moment. Dr. Wade leaned forward. This is incredible. First contact with an alien. Species. First contact with aliens who need our help, Rodriguez corrected. The question is, can we reach them in time? Carlos Vega was already running calculations on his tablet. Kepler 442c is 127 light-years away. At maximum burn, the Harbinger can make the trip in 4 months. 4 months, Amy Foster repeated. Their message said they needed rescue immediately. That was 3 days ago. Rodriguez studied the stellar data. We have to try. If their life support is failing, maybe they can stretch it longer than they think. People often survive longer than expected in crisis situations. Dr. Wade raised her hand. Captain, I've been studying the planet data. Kepler 442c doesn't seem that dangerous. The gravity is higher than Earth, and there might be some geological activity, but it's within the range of worlds we've explored before. Maybe it's dangerous to them, but not to us, Rodriguez said. Different species might have different tolerances for environmental conditions. He made his decision quickly. The Harbinger was already stocked for a long-range mission. His crew of 30 was experienced and ready. They had saved lives before, and they would save lives again. We leave in 6 hours, Rodriguez announced. Amy, prepare medical facilities for unknown alien physiology. Carlos, I want maximum engine efficiency for the journey. Helen, study everything we know about that planet and start working on communication protocols. As his crew dispersed to prepare, Rodriguez remained in the briefing room, staring at the star charts. Somewhere out there, 12 alien beings were fighting for survival on a world they called hostile, beyond imagination. In 4 months, he would find out what that meant. The Harbinger departed Earth's solar system at full burn 12 hours later. Behind them, Earth Command was already preparing for the possibility of first contact with an alien civilization. Ahead of them lay the unknown. During the long journey, Dr. Wade spent her time analyzing the Villani signal and the limited data about Kepler 442c. The planet showed signs of active geology, with frequent seismic events and volcanic activity. The atmosphere was thicker than Earth's, with higher pressure at sea level. Weather patterns suggested strong storm systems. It reminds me of Earth during the Hadean period, she told Rodriguez during one of their weekly briefings. Very active, very dynamic, but Earth supported life during that time. Maybe that's the difference, Rodriguez replied. We evolved on a world like that. Maybe they didn't. As the Harbinger pushed through space toward the distant star system, the crew prepared for the most unusual rescue mission in human history. They had no idea what they would find when they arrived. They only knew that somewhere ahead, intelligent beings were waiting for help from the stars. The rescue mission that would change humanity's place in the galaxy had begun.